I'm Theresa Vitale. I'm a director of photography and a cinematographer.
Hello, and welcome to Art, the podcast where we get up close and personal with women from around the world of visual arts. I'm Chris Stafford, and this is Season 3, Episode 10. My guest this week is the American director of photography and cinematographer Theresa Vitale, whose resume spans all genres of film and TV productions. Theresa is passionate about elevating women, both in her love of sport and her dedication to the industry. Two paths that have merged as she crossed the bridge from US Under-23 national rugby team to film and TV production. As we will hear, sport taught her so much that has helped her in her career, not least of all the value of teamwork and collaboration. Theresa was born in 1982 in Wallingford, Connecticut, the eldest of two daughters. She has a sister, Roseanne. Shortly after, her parents, Mario Vitale and Karen Weeks, moved to Lawrence, New Jersey, where her father could commute to New York, while her mother was the home care provider. Sports and music dominated her childhood. She played trombone for 9 years and tried every sport she could, eventually and accidentally discovering rugby. Her natural talent was soon recognised, and within 6 months she made the squad which was competing for the national championships. Despite coming up short that year, she did go on to win the national championship with the US Women's Under-23 national team in 2005. Alas, her career called, and she chose the University of Massachusetts for its BA in Communications degree with a focus on TV and film, graduating in 2005. An internship with MTV in New York convinced her that she wanted to be a camera operator, and from that point on, doors opened and led the way to a highly successful career. Her work has been featured on major broadcast, cable and streaming networks, including ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, HBO Max, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Showtime, Bravo, to name just a few, and specializing in docuseries, competition reality, cooking shows, studio shows, live music, documentaries, behind the scenes, and, of course, women's sports. Theresa also takes great pride in helping women find and properly fit personal protective equipment. As an ambassador for Easy Rig, she continues the legacy of her mentor, Kat Cummings, by empowering women with the right gear and ensuring it fits them correctly. Theresa lives in Long Beach, California with her wife Heidi and son Baron. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me. I feel honored and I'm super excited to be here today.
Have you got rid of those nerves that you talked about? You don't need those.
I shouldn't have showed my cards.
Did you dump those on the way in?
You know, I think nerves are a sign that you care, that you want to do a good job. That's what I'm telling myself today. I am.
Isn't it anticipation?
I think so, yes.
You're used to being behind the camera, you see. Now, how does it feel to be in front of the camera, metaphorically speaking?
Very uncomfortable.
Does it?
Yes, very much so. I'm used to being behind, not comfortable being in front of, prefer to be behind.
What does that tell me about Theresa Vitale, the athlete, the girl growing up wanting to do this? Were you a shy girl?
No, I don't think I was a shy girl. I think I will say part of me is doing the podcast and getting the courage to do it for the 14-year-old me, the 14-year-old athlete, to tell her that she's good and she did a pretty good job.
My background is sports before I got into media, and so I'm very happy to be able to talk about sports with you. Let's talk sports, Theresa.
I love that.
Tell me where your passion for sports and your sport of choice began.
It's a great question. I probably would say for as long as I can remember, I've always loved sports. And I know both my parents can attest to this. My earliest memory was probably around 5 or 6 years old. I really loved softball, basketball, and soccer. One of my earliest memories is throwing the ball around with my dad. And I was pretty young. And I remember we were going for distance, and my dad told me, why don't you go across the street and I'm going to stay on this side and see if you can hit it to me. And when I threw it over him. And my dad said to my mom, you better get out here. You better see this. And I did have a little bit of a cannon, not to brag, but things pretty much escalated very quickly from there. I played in recreational soccer. I played recreational softball and soccer, softball, and basketball. I loved all of them. I think my greatest passion was for basketball. Man, I just wanted to be a basketball player. You know, I wanted to just be the New York Knicks. I love the Knicks. I still do. Go Knicks. We're still in the playoffs. But I wasn't the best at basketball, you know, and I think that really helped me because I had to work the hardest at basketball. So I was the little girl out front with the hoop that my parents got me in the driveway because I begged for it. And I was just shoot and shoot and shoot. And I'd be like, dinner's ready. One more shot, 5 more shots. You know, I was that little girl. And it was to the point where my parents even got me that basketball retrieval where the ball just kicked right back because I just needed that ball to come right back to me. And I was just always so determined. I don't know. I've always just had that kind of fire in me. And that took me through middle school and high school. I played varsity basketball, varsity soccer, varsity softball. I was the captain of soccer. I was the captain of basketball. We didn't have captains for softball, but we had a really good core of women that I got to play with. We'd won some district championships for all-stars. And I really took a lot of pride in being a leader on the field, being a leader off the field. And I may have never been the fastest or the best player, but I take a lot of pride in saying I was the hardest worker in the room. If coaches wanted to say after, a couple people say after, I was always saying after, always practicing, getting better, honing in my craft. And so after high school, I tried to walk on the soccer team at the University of Massachusetts. And I walked on to the soccer, what I thought was the soccer field. And Chris, I think you'll like this story. I went down with this like awesome Adidas tracksuit. I mean, it matched. It was baby blue and black. I still remember it. My friends on the team still make fun of me for this outfit. And I just thought I was hot shit. And I walked down to the soccer field to walk on, and I was at the rugby field. I was on the wrong field. And I went down to the rugby field, and, you know, these girls, they don't mess around. They were giving me crap right off the jump. And I met the coach. His name was Frank. And he said, hey, we'd like to see what you got. Why do you need soccer? Come down and play rugby. And I said, all right. He said, come back tomorrow. I'll be here at 4:30. I said, no problem. Came back at 4:30 the next day, and the rest was kind of history. I mean, I got really lucky. I walked on to the University of Massachusetts. At the time, 2001, they had 3 sides, which was almost unheard of. They played Division I. We had an A side, a B side, and a C side. I walked on in the fall and started playing rugby, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it because I love the people. I love the challenge. It was something brand new. I knew nothing about rugby, not a lick. And I became obsessed with it. So like everything else, I just wanted to get better. That was the spring 2001. That was the fall 2001. And by the spring 2002, we were at the national championships because the University of Massachusetts was ranked 8th in the country at the time. And I was brought on as a substitute, and my coach put me in. I've been playing this sport for 6 months, and I was playing in, part of the national championships. It was just crazy. So I think in my life, things have always kind of escalated quickly in a good way because I've worked so hard and I've been so determined. But that's a huge part of my life. And so sports is an enormous part of my life. And I'm really grateful for everything that sports has given me and has contributed to my life and now to my profession.
Were there any thoughts of making it a profession and getting into coaching or being a professional athlete?
It's a great question. I would probably be lying if I said no, but absolutely yes. After that first year of playing rugby at UMass, I had a lot of really good coaches who I really loved, and they pushed me. And one in particular, Warren McCallum, and he said to me, I want you to try out for the New England team. There's an all-star team that plays in the summer. I think you'd be perfect for it. I tried out for that. I made the New England team. Then they told me, I want you to try out for the Northeast team. I tried out for the Northeast team. I made the Northeast team. And from the Northeast team, I played in one of the championship games, and completely unbeknownst to me, the national team coaches were there. And we actually lost in those finals. And I was a loose head prop at the time, and I was going against the national team tight head prop in that game. And man, it was a battle, Chris. I mean, we were going at it, and I thought for sure I didn't play the best I could have. I was really hard on myself about the game. I had a very particular moment where I remember I could have done a little bit better. I have another moment where I remember I really got to her and I stood her up in the scrum. And something about that must have been okay, because the national team knocked on my door right after that. And they asked me if I wanted to play for the U.S. developmental side under 23 national team. And before you know it, I was on a plane going to New Zealand. And I loved it. I loved every single second. Some of my greatest friends in the whole wide world are my rugby friends. And from there, we played a bunch of games in New Zealand. And for lack of better terms, we got our butts kicked. And man, did we learn a lot about Kiwi rugby, and respectfully. And we came back from that trip in New Zealand, took everything that we learned. And I still tell this story to my son to this day, that when we got back, we played all of the women's select sides from the country, and we won the national championship. We were the complete underdogs, and we actually beat New York to win the national championship. So I have the huge luxury and the huge honor of saying that I have a national championship with the U.S. under 23 national team. And it was because we learned so much by losing in New Zealand. So you got to fight through that loss and that heartache and that heartbreak to turn around, come back, be determined, and to win that championship. That it's not just about the wins. And I still tell my son this story to this day. But after that, yeah, man, I really wanted to play rugby. That's what I wanted to do. And so I continued on that path with playing rugby. This tiny, tiny problem was that I was playing in tournaments, and I was also at the same time starting my career. So things for me happened simultaneously. When I was training for the national team, I had my internship at MTV. So I was also starting the foundation for my work. And when I continued to do both of those parallel, I would get the bumps and the bruises and the normal things that I would push through and go to work. But I remember this one specific tournament I played in San Diego. We won the tournament. A friend of mine had asked me to step in. I separated my shoulder during that tournament. That was on a Sunday. And on Monday morning, I was back in LA having to shoot a show with the camera on my shoulder for 13 hours. It just didn't work out, right? Because the injuries were just too great. So I remember having a conversation with my core, and specifically my grandfather, my mother's father. And, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I really want to pursue rugby. I really do want to play for the national team. Back then in 2001 through 2005, there was no money. I was selling T-shirts and balls to get to New Zealand. That's how we got there. There was very much underrepresentation, definitely was not being televised. And he said to me, this is hard for me to say, but you gave it a good run and you did really wonderful, and we're proud of you. But now is the time for you to really start taking your career seriously. And I think that's the path that you should follow. And I still remember that conversation to this day. And from then on, I made that segue into not playing rugby and working professionally in my business to avoid the injuries and to take it more seriously and give it 110%.
But what takes the most knocks is the shoulders, right? I mean, you're going to get knocked around in rugby. I think probably that's maybe the attraction for you when you decided not to go on the soccer field, was like, oh, yeah, this is a lot more physical. I can really get into this. I can knock my shoulder up a few times on this. But then in doing what you're doing now and the career that you did choose, your shoulders obviously are essential.
You got it.
And I'm glad to hear that you have recovered enough, and you've been kinder to your shoulders, Theresa, shall we say?
Yeah, I think my parents are happy about that too.
Yeah, probably. But that must have been really hard walking away from sport. You know, having been there myself, it's really hard to just turn your back, isn't it? When you know you're good at something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was really hard on me, and I was young. And I think that's hard too to do when you're young. Now that I'm looking back on it, to make that decision was a really mature and hard thing for me to do. But I like to say I don't live my life with any regrets. And I love that I had to walk that path to help me build the building blocks to where I am now. And it's made me who I am, 110%. And so I'm really grateful for all of the experiences, all the coaches, all the mentors throughout the way. And it's helped mold me to be the person that I am.
Well, you know, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of athletes from all different sports in my career, Theresa, and the one thing I will always ask them is what sport has taught them. What did sport teach you?
Sports has taught me so much. It's intangible what sports have taught me. It's taught me how to be a teammate, how to be a really good leader. It's taught me about the grit and the hard work. And no matter how many times you fall down, you got to get back up and you got to keep going. It's taught me a team mentality. I played all team sports, and it's taught me about a team mentality. And so I'm able to, I think, take my team mentality thought into my job every day in being the leader. When I'm the director of photography, it's teaching me to advocate for my team, how to get certain things done and accomplished, how to be everybody's hype girl. I mean, I've been described as that, and I love that. I love being positive. I love cheering everybody on. I'll even sometimes do a nice little clap, like let's do a slow clap. Let's go. Let's, or let's huddle up and let's cheer for somebody. I think I owe so much to what I've learned from sports and creating me to be the person that I am. It's taught me good discipline. I talk about this a lot too with my son, having good discipline. And even to this day, like I do a lot of things behind the scenes to help myself and to help my body to be in tip-top shape in order to do what I do every single day. If I have a really hard show coming up, I train for it. I train, I meal prep. I go to my beloved Orange Theory. I've got some weights in the garage, and I just basically kick my own butt to get myself in tip-top shape. So when I'm asked to perform, I can do my job under stress. I can help others, and I can deliver a product that's going to be 110% of my effort all the time. And so it's taught me that, some days you get up and you don't really want to do something. Some days you're human and you've got to push through that. And I've learned all of that because of sports. That's given back to me,
I absolutely do. And I know you got your dream job the other day when you're running camera for a documentary involving someone we both know.
Yeah, so I can't speak exactly on too much. I did talk to the showrunner because it hasn't been officially announced yet. However, there are pictures on the internet. There's me all over the place. I had the full circle moment that I got to be in Kansas City at the Wave Stadium, which is for the women's professional soccer team. And I got to film and witness 10,500, yes, I said 10,500 guests watching USA women's rugby. I mean, it was a full circle moment for me. I was so proud and so honored, so happy. I mean, people were like, we can't even hear you on the walkie. You're just talking so loud because you're so excited. And it's true. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just so happy for them. I'm so happy for the program. I'm so happy for the country to finally understand the grit and the determination and how amazing these women are, that I am just such a small part of that equation, that if I could document that, man, I'm the luckiest person on the planet. I'm still on cloud nine from it. I'm so happy about it and so grateful and so thankful.
So you get to combine all your passions all at once, Theresa. You're a spoiled girl that day. And promoting women's sports.
That time was like a pot boiling over.
Right. Every opportunity you have wanted to promote women's sports. And of course, we can never have enough coverage of women's sports. It's been my lifelong passion, promoting women's sports. So I'm really delighted to get this opportunity to meet you and know that we are singing from the same hymn sheet. We are on the same script for this. And continue to do that work and do the work that you love doing. But I want to now rewind the clock. That's what we do here on the show. Theresa, we go back to the beginning. We're going to go back to 1982 when you were born in Connecticut, Wallingford, Connecticut. But you grew up in Lawrence Township in New Jersey. That's kind of been about, midway between New York and Philly, somewhere like that?
Yeah, I would say that, sure. Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you moved?
Well, when I was pretty young, my sister and I were both born in Wallingford. We're 16 months apart. My dad worked in insurance and we moved around a lot. We lived in Connecticut. We lived in Chicago. We lived in New York for a little while. We lived in Cherry Hill, southern New Jersey, and then we ended up settling in Lawrence. My dad worked in New York City, and both my parents wanted us to have some sort of a normal life and live in the suburbs. So we picked Lawrence, had a good school system my parents picked, and so my dad could commute back and forth to the city, and we could have some sort of a quote-unquote normal childhood.
Well, your father clearly, with a name like Vitale, has to come from Italy. So you've got Italian blood in you. So many Italians actually moved to New Jersey, didn't they? Not so much Connecticut, but a lot of them moved to New Jersey when they emigrated here. But tell us about your dad. What was his story when he emigrated from Italy?
Well, my dad's grandparents immigrated from Italy. So my dad is second generation. My grandparents were first. They're from Sicily. It's a small city called Sciacca in Sicily. And my dad actually was born in Brooklyn, and like all good New Yorkers moved to Long Island. So he was brought up on Long Island. And, I think with both of my families, my mom was born in Queens, moved to Long Island as well. I get all of my work ethic from both my mom's side and my dad's side. My mom's Irish Catholic. My dad was Italian Catholic, and all of my grandparents worked tremendously hard. My mom's parents worked. My grandfather worked 2 jobs. My grandmother would take care of the kids, and then she would work at the steak pub as a waitress, overnight shifts, late night shifts. And both of my grandparents on my dad's side, my grandfather actually on my dad's side was the first person that I remember being in a union. He worked for Entenmann's and he drove the trucks. So my family has always been pretty pro-union as far as that goes. And my grandmother she worked pretty much almost to right before she passed away at Little Flower. So I come from a deep line of people who work their butts off. My dad, he tells me stories to this day where he started mowing the lawns in the neighborhood. And from there, he worked at the deli, cutting the meats. And then he went to the College of Insurance and then worked his way up in insurance to provide for our family. My mom went to school. She went straight to the Home of Insurance, which is where they met. And she took care of everything at the house. She was our home care provider. Man, that woman didn't miss one game, and she worked tirelessly to make sure that she showed up for us, So there's no wonder that, both of them don't sleep a lot. I don't sleep a lot. We have that energy. We have a lot of energy, and that comes from my grandparents. That comes from my roots. And I saw that, and I remember seeing it growing up. And I admired my grandparents so much for that. There was so much love from both sides. They worked their butts off, and no matter how tired they were, they would still put out, fun spreads and music and laughing. And man, we would get together. We were in that car going to Long Island all the time, like that was our weekends, was going to see my grandparents and spending time with them. So I'm really lucky. I'm really fortunate. All of my grandparents deeply supported me and my sports. They would come to my games. They'd come to UMass. They'd make a weekend of it. And I'm really lucky and really blessed that I came from awesome roots, and I feel extremely grateful for that too.
Did you bond with any one of your grandparents?
You know, I hate to be like the PC one, but I really had a special bond with each of my grandparents, you know, if that makes sense. With my grandma Vitale, I look like her. I've got like the round face, and when we smile, the eyes kind of squinch up, and we love chocolate. And man, she was just funny and sweet. And my grandfather, Grandpa Vitale was just the nicest guy, man. I mean, all right. He was just the sweetest. I admired how hard he worked. And you know what I really admired about my grandpa Vitale is how much he loved my grandmother. That was, I think, the first time I really saw somebody really love their spouse like that. When I was little, how much my grandfather Vitale loved my grandma Vitale. And then, man, my mom's side, we could do a whole podcast on that. My mom's mom, AKA Nanny, I mean, she was a pip. She lived to 87. I hope I'm not wrong on that, Mom. Please don't get mad. 87. She was the last one to live. No shocker there. Her funeral was packed. I mean, Nanny was always singing, always had a ton of energy, always giving. I mean, she would give the last penny in her pocket to give you a gift for your birthday, Chris, if she knew that you had done a podcast for me. You know what I mean? Like, that was the person that she was. She'd show up to games unannounced, drive 3 hours there, 3 hours back, never complain. And so we had a very tight knit bond, that's for sure. I admired the crap out of Nanny. And luckily, my son even got to meet Nanny, which is pretty darn cool. So we still talk about Nanny a lot. And then my grandpa Weeks, my mom's last name is Weeks, he was the guy, man. I mean, he's where I get all my love and my obsession with the New York Yankees. And we just really had that bond, and we shared so much bond on that. He always called me his all-American girl because I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. I think he just was just fascinated with my work ethic and how I just didn't really care what people thought about me. I just found my own way, kind of. And we had a special bond. We would eat lunch together. We would go to the diner together. We'd go on car rides together. We were really, really, really close. And he was just a really good guy. So like I said, I was just really lucky I had a bond with all four. Is that crazy?
Well, that is blessed, isn't it? I mean, that's wonderful that you had that. And you mentioned your mum, Karen Weeks, and also your grandmother. There was music in the family. You had some singing and musical introduction, right from your family. They're very musical. And you played the trombone too. So quite a serious musical background.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could also do another podcast on Karen, my mom. She is one in a million as well. The apple didn't fall far from the tree from Nanny, that's for sure. Anita Baker. I mean, she just in the kitchen, my mom singing Anita Baker, Whitney Houston with the wooden spoon, like making dinner. That's just how I remembered, growing up and being in the kitchen. My grandmother, my nanny she really was the voice. I mean, she had a really good voice, and she would sing stuff like Hello, Dolly. Right. And at the time we'd be like, oh my God, please stop. But now to this day, we'll be like, well, hello, Jolly. And we reminisce about that. We miss that. We love that about her. We would sing songs in the car. We would go on and on and on and on. We would sing songs for holidays. She would sing songs to us to go to sleep, to soothe us. And to this day, my mom will still sing to my nieces and nephews. We sang to my son. He's 13 now, so we don't really sing as much to him anymore because we embarrass him. But we did. And, they all passed that down to me, the importance of music and how that can soothe you or that can bond you. And I really love that. I love the show tunes my grandmother would sing and how passionate she was about all of that. And I was just really lucky. She had a really good voice too. And hot tip, because I know there's going to be somebody out there who's going to listen, and if they'll get mad at me if I don't say this. Allegedly, sometimes I've been known to tear the house down on some karaoke. And the only person I can thank for that is Nanny, that's for sure. Because I don't think anybody else, and everybody I've mentioned in this podcast can hold a tune besides Nanny.
What's your karaoke go-to?
Okay, I got two. You ready? So It depends on the crowd, Chris. I got to have a little bit of a good stage. I like to get the crowd into it, keep it moving. And if it's loud and it's rowdy and people are having fun and they're into it, 110% it's Proud Mary, Tina Turner. And it's got to be the version where it starts slow and then it builds, right? Because you get up there and they're like, what is this chick doing, right? What is this white chick doing? And then it's just like the hair comes down, Chris, and we just go and we just have fun. I just like to have fun and I like to have a good time. And then if I'm not doing that, it's Whitney Houston. I want to dance with somebody, but the voice has to be right for it. Because that's a hard one.
How about I Will Survive? Can you add that to your repertoire?
I guess I probably could. It's not right now, but maybe I'll do one for you one day.
Okay. I want to see this karaoke, Theresa. And this is the side of you. When you started this podcast, you said how shy you are, not used to being in front of the camera, but you are comfortable in front of the microphone singing karaoke, obviously.
After a cocktail, maybe?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I love this. So a very happy childhood is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, very happy childhood. I feel I'm blessed. That's the only word I can say. And never not busy. Like always busy. I think I drove my mom crazy. Just always, oh, we're in another band. Now you're doing the pep band, but are you in the jazz band? And then you're doing the concert band and the recitals. It was a lot. I mean, I did a lot. I had, like I said, a lot of energy, and I wanted to put that towards good stuff and stuff that I really enjoyed. And I will have to say, I really did enjoy playing music. Absolutely.
So between sports and music, then, your childhood was pretty full by the sounds of things, both in and out of school. And I'm wondering what time you spent with your younger sister, Roseanne. You said there's 16 months between you. Did you get along? Did you do any of these activities together?
Roseanne, we are the typical sisters. We absolutely love each other. There is nobody else I would do some of the things I do for my sister. I absolutely love her. I love her 3 beautiful children. I was there for 2 out of 3 of the births physically there. The last one was born in COVID, so that was tough. But we bickered. We for sure bickered. No, my sister we did not do the things together. My sister is the exact opposite of me. I always kind of make the joke, and maybe it's funny or not. She is basically the feminine version of me. So we sound alike. We have a lot of energy alike, but we're complete opposites. Same roots, same foundations, but complete opposites as far as likes and desires. She played field hockey, and man, did she crush in field hockey. She quit that after a little while. She actually was the one that really got me into more of the musical theater and Broadway. One of her favorite shows is Rent. And I really loved listening to her listen to Rent. And so I ended up getting the tape because Roseanne had the tape. So I attribute that to her. She's such a fantastic mom, and I admire how good of a parent she is. And, I could pick up the phone right after this and she'll pick up and we'll talk. And so we're still really close. But no, we did not do any activities together. We bickered like the best of them. But, she's my best friend then and now, and I love her to pieces.
Are you saying that you were the tomboy then in the family?
Oh yeah, I was the tomboy. But I'm gonna give kudos to Rosanna. Can I tell us one quick story?
Of course.
So totally off brand for being the tomboy. My senior year, so I was a senior. My sister was a junior, and I got nominated for homecoming. And my mom and my sister will love that I tell the story because they love this part. And I didn't want to do it. Chris, I didn't want to wear a dress. I definitely didn't want to go in the middle of the football field and wave my little hand and all that and write a bio because, you already know how I feel about that. And so
I'm not seeing you in pom-poms right now.
No,
I'm not.
So I got nominated. I was part of, I think it was 10 of us, males and female couples that went out there. And I went out there and I won. I won Homecoming Queen. And I know for a fact, well, first off, I wore pants, so I didn't wear a dress. I felt pretty good about that. A couple T-shirts because I was a little sweaty. I didn't want to have the pit stains coming through. But I know for a fact my sister had a huge hand in me winning Homecoming because the whole school voted. And my sister, everybody loved Roseanne. in high school. And I know she got her friends and they got their friends and they got their friends and everybody to vote for me. And man, I know that my mom and my sister were always so happy with a lot of the things that I did. But that day when I won homecoming queen, I mean, they were front row at the fence, just going nuts, just going nuts. And so to this day, my mom still has the picture of me with the homecoming queen on her dresser. And, I got to give a shout out to Ro because I know for a fact that she had a big hand in that.
So what kind of activities were you doing with your parents then? What would you say you learned from them? The kind, we do different things with our mums and dads, and I'm wondering what you did and what do you learn from them?
Did I learn from my parents? I think with my mom, I learned unconditional love. I learned showing up, even if you don't understand the game, even if you don't understand why people are kicking balls at me, as she would say when I was the goalie. Showing up and how important that is for somebody as they're growing up. I have a kid now, as I've mentioned, and showing up is so important. She did a lot of the behind the scenes thing that nobody gets to see. The meals and the transportation and talking me off the ledge and being the original hype girl. She coached one of my softball teams when I was really young, and I just remembered how much we laughed and how much fun we had, right? Because it can be so intense sometimes, especially nowadays. Coaches are pretty crazy and intense. My mom was so fun and so funny. Being on time, we were always on time. I love that about her. Being thoughtful. I remember being together and buying gifts for my grandparents' birthdays and buying gifts for people's birthdays and volunteering. I volunteered with my mom. I did those types of things, always giving back. One of my first cousins and first friends is handicapped, and he lived not too far from us. And we spent a lot of time going to his housing facility to support him and them and visit them and drop off supplies. That's all my mom, the caring and the empathy part of my heart and my soul. And I just feel really lucky to have that unconditional love from my mom. And my dad, I mean, without a doubt, the work ethic. He worked tirelessly for our family. He never complained. And he is still working to this day. He's going to get mad at me for name dropping how old he is. He's 69. He's going to be 70 this year. And he is still working full time, traveling the world and crushing it. I think being able to see that, understand that, and the good discipline, I got a lot of that from him. I mean, now I made fun of him when I was younger. I think you'll like this, Chris. On Sunday nights, he'd be like, I got to do bills and I got to go a couple hours to get ready for my week. And, I can't throw any more of the ball. I can't do this. I can't do that. I need some time. And he'd be sitting at the desk doing it. Cut to now, me, 42 years old, Sunday night. I'm like, I got to get ready for my week. I have a big week. Like literally being a mini me as far as my dad and the work ethic and prepping for a week to be successful, right? You prep to be successful for your week. So, I mean, my toolbox is full. And I think they both taught me so many important life lessons on both ends of the spectrum that I'm just blessed that I was able to balance that out between the two of them, and learn so many things from my dad, so many things from my mom. And then I hope that I am just a blend of that, because if I am, I'm stoked.
Well, that's wonderful. And you mentioned, how close you were to Roseanne, your younger sister, but you're also close to your half brother, Michael.
I am. I love my half brother Michael. I just call him my brother. We actually all call each other bro, which is it's like so weird. I love my brother Michael. He's fantastic. He is my dad's son from his first marriage, and we didn't grow up together, but I think we are totally making up for lost time. He is a confidant of mine. He's super intelligent. He's a lawyer, lives in Florida, has two wonderful kids, and he's a really good dad. I've got a lot of things going on in my life, especially as an adulthood, and I can go to him and talk to him. And I really appreciate that. I think it's pretty cool that, well, we didn't grow up together, but we can have this 2.0 kind of relationship, and and bond on that. And man, there are some crazy similarities between us, which is wild to feel and to see when you've met somebody at 14 years old. Like, we didn't get raised together, but man, we are alike. It's pretty interesting, and I love him and I love his family, and I'm super super excited that I get to be a part of his life.
So when did the camera come into your life then? Who introduced you to a camera when you start playing around with it as a child?
Oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to talk about, right?
As well as.
Great question. I've listened to a couple of other podcasts as well, very similar to a lot of the women I've had the pleasure of listening to. I started at an early age. My parents had a VHS old school recorder, and I was just interested in it from the jump. My dad loved to take videos of me taking tennis lessons, or, us at a birthday party or a family gathering. He loved that VHS tape camcorder. And I remember being like, well, can I play with that? Can I play with that? And he would let me. So I remember being the videographer for the family when I could. And I remember specifically, we went on a trip to Dollywood with my grandmother and grandfather Vitale. No parents. It was just us, me, my sister, my grandma Vitale, grandpa Vitale. And so I got to be the videographer because dad wasn't there. It was just me. And I remember I was so excited. And we went to Dollywood, and we were eating in one of the cute little restaurants there. And while I was filming, Dolly came out from the balcony. And I just remember this as a core memory because I tilted up and I'm like, there's Dolly freaking Parton, Like, as a kid, I'm like, that was cool. But now I'm like, that's really, really cool. And so I guess I've always really had the fascination for it, the interest in it, the drive for it. I guess maybe I just didn't know. And when I was at UMass before my last year, I had to do an internship, and I interned to do a bunch of different internships. And I talked to my parents, and they were like, we think that you should try to do something in the city, and you should take this, internship or do this interview for MTV. And I was kind of like, all right, what do I got to lose? MTV, that's cool. People are into MTV. Everybody likes it. That's cool. So I went to the interview, and I guess I did well. I got the internship. And I remember in 2004, the summer, we did everything. I called it the gopher, right? Go for this, go for that. And we did everything from logging to running errands, of course. I was a personal assistant. And then I remember one day we got to go in the closet where the cameras were. And I was like, ooh, it was like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, And I went in the closet, right? And I'm like, this is cool. And they're like, we need someone to prep all these cameras. And everyone's like, well, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. I was like, well, I'll figure it out, right? So I remember prepping the cameras. I remember getting them ready. And I remember bringing them to a shoot. And TRL and all that stuff was really big. So it was packed in the city. And I remember we did that for one day. And I remember that day was my favorite day. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be involved with the cameras. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's what I want to do. So after my internship was over, I went back to UMass to graduate. Backtrack. I went to Northridge for a semester, which was my 2004 fall television and film studies. And I came out to California, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved California. I loved the weather. I loved learning about it. I loved having professors who were directors in television and film. I loved learning about it, all of it. So I went back, graduated my spring semester 2005. And within 2 weeks of graduating, I told my mom, I'm moving out to LA. She said, what? I said, I'm moving out to LA. It's what I want to do. I love it. I want to try to get a job, and I want to work in production. And she was devastated and super upset, but she supported me, and she took me to the airport. She dropped me off, and she cried, and I got on that plane, and I moved myself out to California, and I had zero contacts. I knew nobody, Chris, literally. And for the viewers, I'm going to tell you this. There was no Facebook, right? 2005.
The year was
right?
1800 and when?
Exactly, BC. So it's like there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was no staff me up. I mean, it was you get out and you figure it out. There was Craigslist, and as soon as I moved out, I found an independent film that was filming in Burbank. I lived in the Valley at the time, and the job description was working overnights and no pay, but you get fed. No joke. So I took the job and I got the job.
Food security, even if no job security.
Exactly. Right. And that's what happened was I called my parents. I said, you're never going to believe this. They're going to pay me in food. And they were like, well, you got a good appetite. So, but I think they supported me, but maybe thought I was a little bit crazy. And on that very first independent film, I was a PA. I got all of my trash duties, my cooler duties, everything done. And I would always go and hang out with the camera team. I loved the camera team. And so I would just pick their brains, just talk to them, ask them questions. And on that film, I just worked my butt off. Whatever they needed, I did. And by the end of that project, I was making $100. They bumped me up. I made $100 a week, and I thought I made it. Chris, I was like, Mom and Dad, I'm making $100 a week. You're never going to believe this. And they're like, okay, well, are you going to be able to make the rent? And are you going to be able to survive? But, we're proud of you. Just keep going. And on that film, I met an AD named Al Reeves. I still keep in contact with Al Reeves. Shout out. And he was like, I love you, T. I love your energy. I love working with you. I want to take you with me. I want you to be my second AD. And I'm like, oh, all right, man, I don't even know what a second AD does, but I'm yours. I got nothing lined up. So we took the next gig was in Tahoe, and man, did I learn about Tahoe. We froze our butts off, and I ran around like a chicken with my head cut off. But we worked our butts off. We worked really hard, and I learned so much about the time management and the call sheet aspect and people moving and how to get people to and from set. I mean, everything, getting people to meals on time, getting people wrapped on time. I learned so much on that project. And Al was so great, like so gracious, so nice to me. As soon as we got back, he said, taking you with me to my next gig, and we're going to The Biggest Loser. I said, okay, I don't even know what that is, but sign me up. Again, I'm in it. Let's go. Now I'm making $100 a day, Chris, and I thought I, again, had made it $100 a day. Yeah. I'm like, we just keep going up. Let's do it. So, and I knew nobody, so I just followed him, and we went over to Biggest Loser. I was a PA, and this is basically what changed the whole trajectory of my career. When I came onto the Biggest Loser set, I met a woman named Kat Cummings, and Kat is no longer with us. But man, if you mention that name to anybody in Unscripted, everybody knew Kat. She changed my life. She saw me. She went right up to the bosses and said, she's going to be my camera assistant. That girl right there, me. I'm going to take her under my wing. I'm going to teach her everything she knows. We need more women in the department, and she's mine. And that's how it started. I worked with Kat for years, and we were a team, and she taught me everything. She was tough as nails, Chris. She didn't put up with any crap. She was, and still is, in my mind, one of the hardest workers I met in production. She's rumored to have been one of the first women in Unscripted on the West Coast, which I think is pretty awesome. And everybody respected Kat everywhere she went and everything that she did. And I got really lucky because she took me under her wing, and she really taught me everything I needed to know on the job.
One thing we didn't cover, and I want to just rewind, because it's wonderful, that you find these mentors, you find these people along the way, but there was something that was the catalyst for you even choosing to go when you decided to go to University of Massachusetts in Amherst to go into communications with a focus on TV and film. That decision came from somewhere, okay, in high school. I get the physical connection when you actually got into the gear room and handled it, but what was the catalyst for that decision to go into TV and film from high school?
It's a good question. I think growing up pretty close to the city and going to the city a lot to see Broadway shows, to be a part of the heartbeat of New York, having the music background, having the family background. I think I just drew towards entertainment, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I drew towards telling people's stories. And I really I loved growing up the comeback stories, right? So it's probably super cliche as the athlete and the lesbian, but like Rocky, I was obsessed with the Rockies. You know what I mean? I mean, and not just one. I mean, of course, the one with the Russian is absolutely amazing when he's training in the woods in the snow and the Russian's getting injections. But the Rockies, the Karate Kids, those movies about the comeback kids, rooting for the underdog, that was so amazing to me. I love that. I love a good underdog story. I love a good comeback story. And so I think that helped. I think it's a combination of all of it. I think it was like an equation for me, a formula of a mixture of things, of growing up not far from the city, wanting to tell people's stories, loving the comeback stories, the music, all of that part just kind of came together, and it almost just happened organically for me, if that makes sense. And that for me, I think the kind of person I am is the only way I would have had it happen. If it was something I had to do or I was forced to do, I probably would have been like, I'm stubborn, no way, right? I think that's what really drove me in that direction to want to do communications, because it was just fun. It was exciting. I got to be in the center of Times Square as an intern. Like, I got to be where the energy was. And like a moth to the flame, I just went to it. And I couldn't get enough of it.
Did you ever consider acting?
No, I did not consider acting. Is that okay?
No judgment. I'm just wondering, with that energy and the enthusiasm, the bright lights drawing you in, if it ever drew you to the stage yourself.
No, I think it drew me to tell the stories of those on stage. I mean, to this day, I know if I see somebody on stage doing something that I'll laugh, I'll smile, I get goosebumps to this day.
When did you start first noticing cinematographers, directors, and putting names to the work and start to admire particular styles in the industry?
I probably would say, believe it or not, it was probably younger when I really loved things a little bit off the cuff, but popular, but not, like Pee-wee's Playhouse or Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Tim Burton, that kind of stuff that was a little bit different, but funny, but quirky, stuff that maybe didn't always appeal to everybody, but I love that movie. I think I wore that movie straight through the VHS with the Rockies and the Karate Kids. That's probably when I started to really visually realize, oh, wow, you can do things that are off the cuff. You know what I mean? You can do things that are different and take risks and take chances and be successful with that.
And you've pretty much run the gamut, really, in terms of the genres that you've worked in. And clearly you love the storytelling, the documentary. When did you decide that, if you could choose, there was a time that you probably couldn't choose, right? You were getting your arms around everything that you could possibly do. But at what point would you say there was the crossroads of like, okay, I want to turn left here. This is where I want to go. This is the direction for me in the business?
As a camera operator, as a director of photography, or both?
Both. Yeah, both.
I probably want to say that I had a really big turning moment for my very first director of photography gig that I was offered.
What year was that?
Oh, it's a great question. I knew you were going to ask me that, Chris. I was thinking about the year. Like, don't look at your notes. Okay. So I want to say that was 2014. It was 2014 for sure. And I was doing pretty well as a camera operator. I had moved back to New York for a short period and came back to LA. So I was really busting my butt as a camera operator. And one of my other mentors and best friends, Jen Morton, offered me my very first director of photography gig. And that was a huge turning point for me. She gave me the opportunity to DP a very popular Bravo show at the time. And it was the first time I really felt like somebody believed in me, and somebody really believed in all of my talents. And I'm not just saying can hold a camera and compose pretty shots. I think Jen is able to see the parts in me that I have that I really think help contribute for me to get that DP position. And what I'm trying to say is, I guess, being personable, having the energy, being positive, having a team effort on set, and also having that likability by the cast, right? Because especially with women, it was a female documentary series show following a pretty successful lead woman. And I think it was important for that lead woman to like the director of photography, you know? And so there needed to be some sort of a likability there. And she sees that in me. She saw that in me, and she gave my first opportunity. And at that point, when that happened, I didn't think I could do it, Chris. I didn't know if I was cut out to be a director of photography. And because she believed in me and she gave me the opportunity, and I got the show and we did it, and we're still doing it. We just worked together yesterday, that gave me the momentum to say, I can do this. I can be a director of photography. I can keep people like Jen, who's my best friend and mentor, in my back pocket, and I can continue to project forward and take this career to the next level and where I want to be and what I want to do.
Given your energy, your enthusiasm, your seemingly outward confidence in all things, where was the hesitation about being able to DP for the first time?
Another good question, Chris. I feel like, unfortunately, innately, or maybe by society, we as women, we doubt ourselves, right? And we're told that we're not ready, or we need to have more credentials, or we didn't go to an esteemed college to specifically get a master's in something. I think that we doubt ourselves, and I look back on it, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did, and that's me being truthful and me being honest. I think I also really want to do a good job, and I always said this. My transition from camera assisting to camera operating was significant too, because I never wanted to take that jump and not be ready. I feel pretty strongly that in this business, your name is your resume. And so I was afraid of tarnishing my name by taking a jump too soon, and people saying, oh, no, you can't hire Theresa Vitale. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not ready for it yet, And so I wanted to make sure, I was damn ready. So I, just like in sports, I did my training, I did my research, I practiced, I would go to camera rental houses, I would check out cameras, I would pick people's brains on how to light things and how to make things look good, how to document things. And I would ask Gretchen questions. How do I get, this camera balanced? And how do I get this long lens shot really steady when I'm on the end of it? And just constantly wanting to learn. I think my insecurities in that moment I use in the future to propel me to do better, because I care and I want to do a good job.
You mentioned Gretchen there, Gretchen being Gretchen Walther, aka Lady Camera Guy, who introduced me to you. Thank you, Gretchen.
Whoop, whoop.
Again, this speaks to the camaraderie in the business, Theresa. You and Gretchen particularly are all about elevating other women in the business.
Yep.
And continue to do that. And we'll hire women whenever you can. I know that shoot that we referenced earlier, that was an all-women crew.
Mm-hmm.
You will, deliberately find women to elevate them in the business. I'm wondering then what kind of hurdles you had in terms of the sexism that was apparent in the business, and how you overcame that, because you were seemingly confident and most definitely determined to make your own pathway.
Yeah, definitely big shout out to Gretchen Worthen for linking us up. I really appreciate it. She's one of my very dear friends and mentor as well, which I'm really lucky to say. Really good question. I mean, I think I just try to be me And I try to stay true to myself, and I try to keep the hardworking attitude and effort, positive attitude, hardworking effort to overcome some of the sexism. But I definitely have dealt with it. We all have, unfortunately. And I think no matter how bad it has gotten, I've always picked myself up and do it again the next day. I think the way that I'm able to get over it is I've created a small niche and a network of my little pack. I like to call it my wolf pack, if you will, of other badass female cinematographers who have my back. I have their back for sickness and in health, for no matter what, good days, bad days. Gretchen's in that wolf pack for sure. Jen Morton is in that wolf pack. Our other dear friend Megan Stockamer is too, and Kat Cummings was as well. We're there for each other, good days or bad days, advice, no advice, venting, right? We're there for each other. And I think from that wolf pack, I've extended it outward to women and multiple people that I've worked with in the past 21 years, to having hard conversations with men who I'm friends with and saying, hey, this is how you can support me. This is how we can support women on set. And it's well received, having those hard conversations about things. Or I post something about women and I get a negative comment back, having that hard conversation with that person, right? With that gentleman who didn't like that post that I had all females on my crew, right? And trying to educate people, because I think they don't understand because they're not educated about it, right? And they've never been the only person in the room. I think countless times I've been the only woman in the room. Countless times. So I think we work together, the women in my group, the women that are all my friends and my colleagues, we stick together and we try to lift each other up, as opposed to making it that we're in competition, right? Because I think sometimes people might think, oh, well, you guys are in competition because you're both directors of photography, but it's like, absolutely not. I mean, on the project I did 2 weeks ago, I called Gretchen. I said, hey, will you come be my B cam operator? Pretty, please. You're so lucky to have you. And she said, yes. And here I am DPing. My B cam is my mentor. How lucky am I? And if she called me tomorrow, I would do it for her in a heartbeat. And I have. So I think it's sticking together. I think it's educating the people who are giving you backlash, right? And doing it in a nice way and saying, hey, look, I'm not coming from a way where we're going to argue. I'm coming from a place where I just want you to hear where I'm coming from, right? I think we all just want to be related to. And so I try to make it relatable. And if they have a daughter, that's easy peasy, right? Like, wouldn't you want your daughter to have other women on her crew? Pretty sure you would, right? So having a wolf pack, Chris, to answer your question, having people to bounce things off of, having the hard conversations. And then by all means, when I've gotten the opportunity to be the director of photography, to be the boss, I try to bring on as many women as I can.
You've mentioned so many of the people on your team, from your family to friends to mentors. So we're leaving the most important to last. We've also talked about your son, Baron, but we're leaving the most important, your wife, Heidi. Heidi, this is for a reason, because we want to know how you guys met. And now you're married. So there's a story right there.
Did Gretchen tell you about this story? Yes. That laugh is yes. I'm thinking right now, Chris, too, I'm like, well, I haven't mentioned my wife, so I'm going to get this drop in quick. So thank you for that segue. I appreciate that. The Heidi story is definitely one for the record books. I'll still go to set and people will tell me, hey, tell us the story about you and Heidi met. Okay. So I was actually living in New York at the time, and a friend of mine had called me to come back out to LA to do a show and work with her, and I accepted the show. So I came out to California. I stayed in one of my friend's places, and we did a first season show, a little show you may or may not have heard of called Botched. It's on E! And long story short, Heidi works with one of the doctors on Botched. And so I met her when we were filming on on Botched. We would go to her office and we would actually film them in their surgeries. And we definitely did not break. There was no fraternizing. There was no on-set romance, none of that kind of good stuff. But as soon as it wrapped, we kept in touch. And I went on the road simultaneously with that first director of photography gig. You notice this patterns, Chris, right? Like everything kind of happens at the same time for me. So I go do the show in Atlanta, first DP show. And Heidi came out and met me, and we had our first date out in Atlanta. We weren't even like in any of the cities we lived in. And the rest is kind of history. We hit it off. And I think the amazing part about Heidi's job and my job is that since we filmed in her facility, she knows what I do. And since I filmed there, I know what she does. And she is also another awesome female. It's super strong. She's a surgical technician. She works her butt off. And we just get along. We have a really good relationship. She is so extremely supportive of me and everything I do, whether I have to travel and be on the road for 3 months at a time, which I try not to do anymore, especially with the kid, or not. She's one of my biggest fans, and she has been since the moment I met her. So I'm really lucky, and we have a nice little fun story there, but not a showmance. Just want to let everybody know that.
Okay, put those pieces together. What year was it that you met, and what year did you get married?
Okay, so we met in 2013. We had our first date in 2014, which is the same time my first director of photography. And then we got married in 2017, 3 years later. And we got married in Palm Springs. So we had an awesome, like fun gay wedding. It was 3 days of fun. And our son Baron got to be in the wedding. All of our families came out. It was kind of like a destination. 80 of our closest friends and family were there. And it's to this day one of my favorite days of my whole life. My whole life.
Well, congratulations. That's a wonderful love story.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to just get my arms around your career. When I look at you, and we will link to your IMDb page and to your website, and people can see your resume for themselves. But when you look at it, Theresa, what stands out to you as being big career-changing productions in themselves, but what you're most proud of?
What am I most proud of? That's tough. You know, I'm probably, especially more recently, I'm really proud of the women's sports that I've done. I got to do a lot of the startup stuff with the Together company, which is Sue Bird, Alex Morgan, Simone and Chloe Kim's company. Very early starts, and I really love their multimedia page. They're the ones that made the T-shirts that say everybody watches women's sports. I did a 3XBA documentary, which was awesome, on the 3-on-3 basketball women's program and the team that they're starting with 3XBA, and then getting to do the sports documentary that I was just working on a couple weeks ago. I think I'm really proud of wanting to do more women's sports, wanting to create in that space, wanting to document and follow and give I just feel like it's underrepresented and it's underfunded. And the fact that I can contribute even a smidge to some success for them makes me so happy. It makes me so fulfilled. It makes the little 14-year-old inside of me scream like, yes, but I have to tell you that the shows that I've done, I think especially the challenging ones and the ones that were really tough and really pushed me, helped give me the grime and the grit, that I have. And I've done a bunch of competition shows, 12 cameras, sometimes even more, a jib, steady, all of that stuff. And being able to work with that many talented people to come together to make one beautiful show, I'm really lucky. I had a blast doing the Project Runways and the America's Next Top Models, because those are the classics, I really love doing the Barbie Dream House Challenge, which was super fun with Ashley Graham. And we just like redid this entire house in like little to no time. So like nobody slept, everybody was just working. And then that led to more shows because people were like, I want to work with her. That was really cool. You know, um, I love doing the home edit and being able to drop into civilian houses and also celebrity homes and being able to invade their space and shoot in closets because that was super challenging for me. You know, how am I going to shoot in this closet? I got to make this work. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to just to feature one thing that I'm super proud of. I think I'm super proud that I feel like I give 110% to every project that I have done, you know, and I'm excited to do each project that I get to do. And I think they're all different. And that's the fun thing about our business, right? Is that uh, for me, I don't think I could do a 9 to 5, right? I no shame in anybody else that does that. I give you kudos and credit. But I think me changing up every day where I'm going to be, every location, what's going to be happening, the order of the day, the travel, all of the chaos that I've got to be able to pivot and to make work. I think that's a huge part of what I love about the job, you know? So I got to say, Chris, it's a tough question. I mean, I think I want to say all of it.
All of it. Yeah.
I really love all of it. Yeah. Is that crazy? I mean,
No, I love it. I was getting a sense that as you were going through those different credits, that it really was all of it that has brought you to where you are now. But as we know, life is unscripted, and you were thrown a curveball, as we say, in terms of your own health not too long ago that you overcame.
yes, Chris, and I appreciate you letting me share this aspect. I guess as part of my story. In November 22nd, 2023, I had kidney cancer. I had my left kidney removed. I had 2 lymph nodes removed. And in typical me, I say the go big or go home fashion. It was a pretty big tumor. It was 5.8 centimeters. It was pretty aggressive. I was very, very, very lucky. They caught it early. So I didn't need any chemo or radiation. So really lucky in that aspect. I've had to have a couple of follow-up surgeries to fix some minor complications, but I got really lucky. And I think because that happened to me so early, I found out when I was 40, and within 4 weeks of finding out that I had the cancer, I was having surgery. So technically I beat it before 41 because I turned 41 on the 26th of November that year. So it happened really quick. It happened fast and furious, as most things I feel like I've been telling you today have happened to me. And I, with the support of my wife and my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and my best friends, I worked my butt off to try to find a doctor that I really trusted and cared about, and he cared about me. And I had a major surgery. It's hard telling my kid that I had cancer at 40. But I'm doing it okay now. I'm lucky. And it gave me another perspective on my life that you can't take it for granted, you know, that our lives are fragile. And one day your biggest problem is running out of media. And then, and the next day you're getting CT scans, and then you're going in for a major surgery. So, it's definitely changed me. I can honestly say I don't know if I'll ever be exactly the same. It's also propelled me to want to push more, to do things that scare me, things that challenge me, and things that I'm passionate about. One would, the challenge would be me doing this podcast because I was a little nervous, but wanting to do more of the passion projects that I really want to do and that I really care about. So I urge anybody that's listening that, life is short and you never know when you're going to get the call. I thought maybe my cancer card was going to be 60, 65 if I was lucky. And my card turned at 40. You never know when it's going to happen. So take the risk. take the shot and go for it. Whatever it is you want to do. If it's camera, if it's lighting, I know it's creative arts. It could be anything. Makeup. Take the risk and take the challenge, because you never know when your life could be changed, and you don't want to wait, and you don't want to say it's too late.
Sounds like you have a wonderful team behind you, Theresa, and not least of all your loose end prop, Heidi.
Well, I'm the loose end, Chris. She's the tight head. If I call her the hooker, that's really going to be a problem.
Yeah, now we'll be in trouble. Okay, we're getting into the rugby metaphors here. I'm wondering what's next that you can talk about, or goals even.
I really am excited because I have to mention this. I'm really proud of my son. I actually bought him his first 5D last year, and he's taking a photography class next year, photojournalism. And I'm so excited for him. And I didn't even help him do it. He just picked it out. He wants to do it. So we've been working on composition and how to do frames and all that kind of good stuff. And we're going to Italy this summer. So I'm really excited for him to take the camera and take photos and just be excited. He's super talented. He actually has a really good eye, probably better than I did at his age, to be honest, but we're not going to tell him that, But he's really fun, and he sees things. He sees things really well. We went to New York, and we went to the 9/11 memorial, which I had never been to, I hadn't been back to, and I went with him, and he took some photos, blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about passing the torch forward. I'm excited about doing that with him and seeing that through his lens, What am I doing? I mean, I'm hopefully going to be doing more with the women's sports documentary realm. I'm super obviously passionate about that. Really excited. I just got done being the director of photography for the Getaways and the Hometowns for Love is Blind, which I'm really proud to announce. We just did season 10. And I'm really excited because I did the season before, and we broke records on Netflix for views. 3 billion, a lot of people are watching that show. And it was my first time being the director of photography for that portion of the show, and I was really happy to do it. And there were some awesome challenges, but I had a really good time. So I guess I'm just no surprise to anybody listening. I'm excited for the future. I can't wait, and I'm looking forward to it.
You still sound like that little girl in the camera room, going through the gear there. Kid at Christmas.
Yes, absolutely.
Theresa, life is fun. I'm glad that you have overcome that medical challenge, and obviously lots to look forward to in the future. So congratulations on that, and to everything that you've done. We look forward to what else might be in the future, because even with your son getting into the business, there might be a Vitale production company in the future, do you think?
Look out. Look out.
Well, the best of luck with everything that you're doing. And thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you having me on. And I cannot leave without saying thank you for what you're doing to promote women in all aspects of the life and the business. And you're doing, as they say, God's work. So thank you so very much for highlighting women with your podcast.
And a reminder to hop over to our YouTube channel to watch some bonus content in what we're now calling the After Show, where you'll get to see our guests and some extended conversation from this podcast. So do join us on the Art Podcast, that's Art with 2 A's, on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Art Podcast. Don't forget that's Art with 2 A's again. If you want to reach us via email with any suggestions for guests, any comments about the show, we would love to hear from you. Our email address is theartpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget the 2 A's in art again. And if you know anyone who you think might enjoy the show, we would love it if you would share this with them. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we would love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating and a review, because that increases our visibility and therefore helps others find the show amongst the thousands and thousands of podcasts out there. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another talented guest from around the world of visual arts. So I do hope you'll join me then.